Guys, lots of familiar faces here. Lots of people from my cohort. Thank you for being here. If it's your first time, it's your second, or you're a member of this, thank you. And this speech is going to entitle an introduction, an icebreaker. So you can learn a little bit about who I am, where I came from, and what I look forward to. So, in a world. Wrong speech. It is June of 2017, and we find ourselves on the warm beaches of the Santa Barbara Bay. The sun is gleaming over the sanguine skin, peacefully contesting the incoming stress. Making sense of that mysterious, inexplicable hunch in the pit of the stomach. For only in a few days, a decision is to be made. As soon as I graduated, I had two choices. I either was to go into corporate, I had multiple options, or I was to stick at the restaurant that I was working at. Sandbar, for those who may know. And I had an opportunity in both ends. I had an opportunity to start my career. At that moment, it was recruiting and finance, accounting, and bartender. On one end, we were looking at about a year, 2 years perhaps. And the other end, we were looking at 6 months. From June to December, out of work, because there would be money, there would be time, and flexibility, most importantly, which would allow me to discover what I truly wanted to do. So, it took me about a month to train. During that time, there was no tips involved, because it all went to my trainer, and therefore, it was at that end of the month where I would start the tips would start incoming, and I would start looking into renting, housing, living. But we fast forward a month later. On Wednesday night, I was going to start working. Tuesday night, I went out to celebrate, having a great time. It's about 1:30 in the morning, and we decide to step out. Directly in front of the bar that I'm at, my restaurant is found. But when I step outside, I don't come out to a normal Wednesday night or normal Tuesday night. I walk out to a light show full of firefighters, police coloring all the walls of the street, and I look to my left and the entire staff is outside and the restaurant is vacant. What happened? My curiosity approached them, and it turns out that the kitchen had exploded. A restaurant without a kitchen, as you guys may know, is quite dysfunctional. So, what to do now? My plan B, I consider myself a guy with a plan. My plan A, corporate. My plan B, restaurant. My plan C, I didn't get that far. So, I head back home. My family is in the Riverside area, and I realize that it's a stagnant town. I need to get out of there. I need opportunity. So I make my way to LA, where my best friends are. And they introduced me to a company. After about a month of moving around, they introduced me to a construction company, a startup, small one. And that's where I started my career. I asked the gentleman, as I showed up in a full suit to a half-done room full of guys with tattoos, bald heads, shorts, and I'm in a full suit, ready to get to some phone calls. He asked me, "Are you sure you're at the right place?" I said, "Are you guys hiring?" He said, "Yes." I said, "As long as there's opportunity to grow, let's go." And so that's where I started my career, in canvassing. I was to be dropped off. I was to show up in the office at 9 a.m. every single day, 6 days out of 7 days. I would be transported with a group of 6 to 7 guys off to, let's say, a place called Palmdale. They would drop us off for 8 hours. And in those 8 hours, we'd have to walk across thousands of houses, knock on doors, similarly to what we do here, but face to face. The people that I was with, very negative energy. We're talking about guys who complained, who fought, who objected, who really pulled you down. But I had an opportunity. I had an opportunity that humbled me, because I came from the warm beaches of Santa Barbara, right? This bubble. And then the bubble burst with a particular person that came into my life. His name was Brian. Now, Brian was 23. I was about 22 at the moment. And I had the opportunity to offer this gentleman food, because all of his money went to his 3-year-old son and to his mother. And where did he sleep? In the couch. that was one of many I got to feed. So after I realized how much I was complaining about my current life, about the fact that I didn't have money, about the fact that I was with the wrong people, about the fact that I wasn't in a position in which I could really excel, I had a conversation with my mother, and she said, imagine what the world would look like if you stopped focusing on the problem and you started focusing on the solution. And so I did. I focused on my strengths, and my main strength was that I speak Spanish. I was born and raised in Mexico, and therefore I'm a fluent speaker. Not only am I a fluent speaker, but I find myself to be a pretty good salesman in Spanish. What did that company need? A sales representative in Spanish. So after I started targeting, what is that?
Oh, great, that's fine.
That's 5 minutes? Great. So after that, I lost my train of thought. I started pursuing the most successful salesmen in the company, and I would pitch them exactly what my strength was and how I could help them. And quickly, my mentor came, and his name was Sammy. And Sammy, he allowed me to take the next level, and that was, if you plan to grow, you have to follow the ratio. You have to listen twice, as much as you speak. And so I did. I put myself in a position of a learner, and I absorbed as much information as I could from the greatest and the best. I said, this is how we can scale. From that moment on, I spent about a month and a half canvassing. Then I became a translator for about 2.5 months, 3 months, before my mentor said, I'll make you an offer. In exchange to teach you construction and sales, help me run my projects. What do I have to lose? My parents, they were still dealing with their own problems. My dad, not to mention, 2 weeks before the fire, he fractured a vertebrae, so they had their own problems. I said, I have nothing to lose, so I went for it. And 6 months later, we became so successful in what we did that we actually opened up our own company. June 2018, I opened up my own company with 2 other gentlemen, and everything was great. And we succeeded, and we grew, and it was until about March where that hunch that first we had in June 2017 came back. But this time it was not to make a decision of where to go, but whether I should stay. And I did not. I left. I went soul searching. I went to look for opportunities. And eventually, I found Oracle. I had a couple connections, and quickly the life just brought it to me as I visualized it, I imagined it, I absorbed it, and I accepted it. So, what was important about that point is there was a lot of inaction in my applications. I wasn't applying. I was talking, but I wasn't applying. And I remember my mentor said, before you reject yourself, allow others a chance to say yes. Many times we find ourselves with that inaction because we're scared. We're scared of the result. But the result is either yes or no, for the most part. So all in all, this roller coaster of a life taught me a couple things. And the 3 main ones that I want to share with you guys, and I want you guys to remember, and hopefully you can apply in your life. Stop focusing on the problem. Focus on the solution. Get past it. Move forward. Secondly, follow the ratio. Listen twice as much as you speak. And you'll see how much information, how much value you can attain from others' experience. And thirdly, and lastly, again, before you reject yourself, allow others a chance to say no. Thank you so much for you guys' time.